And, boy, every time we go into a commercial set, something unbelievable happens. And when you guys were out of the room, I was watching. Mark and I were just trying to figure something out. I saw a window break on the southern tower of the World Trade Center, and I thought, it looks like something new's happening there, too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does.
I swear, this is so hideous. It's almost unprocessable. I thought I saw someone coming out the window, like they were jumping.
Definitely could happen.
And there were reports earlier that people were jumping off the top of the World Trade Center. There are also reports that there are people up there now, like, hoping to be rescued or something.
Because what else can you do other than hope against hope?
Just as we were trying to figure that out, all of a sudden, Mark's like, oh, my God, what's that? And there is an implosion that the only thing I know how to compare it to is the Hudson Building's implosion. Almost like people had all the explosives in the right place to take the building down. And sure enough, the southern tower, the Southern World Trade Center tower, is completely demolished. I mean, nothing left.
Yeah,
Jennings was even asking the witness there who was nearby, is like, what, you mean part of the building? No, the entire thing is gone. Utter panic on the streets of New York right around there. People just going absolutely bonkers.
Well, can you imagine the debris falling on all the streets and cars below? Can you imagine?
Smoke. This looks like Escape from New York City or something.
Yeah, no, it's a disaster.
He
Look at it.
3 times, too. I thought that was incredible because he was beyond belief that the entire one of the Twin Towers of the Trade Center had been demolished.
Yeah, well, maybe a little overloaded.
And it does absolutely, Drew, reek of planted bombs.
There was, in fact, a plane at the Pentagon as well. They said it was flying close to
what's a plane?
Over the White House.
I wonder how many people, by the way, since that southern tower just imploded, I wonder how many people were able to get out.
Oh, I know.
Not many.
The upper part of the building,
same thing when you said that,
was hit by a plane. The lower part, looked like, well, maybe there's hope for those people. They would all have to use the stairs, though.
Sure.
Something like 40,000 people in each tower.
I remember stories from 1993, people trying to get down those stairs in the dark, in the panic.
Right.
The impact of this, though, is that all of the entire country is in national lockdown. Airspace is completely out of stop. Everywhere. Every airport.
Any plane in the sky has been asked to land at the nearest airport.
Definitely. Naturally, sure, you'd want to get everything that's flying in the sky. You sure do want it down. But Drew, just the one last thing on that tower, the way that looked, because you saw that and I saw the replay of it. Certainly, there was like bombs planted in there, and man, I can't believe it. You're so right.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Planted.
It leveled it.
It was like the Hudson's. It was like the Hudson's.
No, it was, Drew.
And the rubble and the debris and the dust. It looks like the Hudson's building times 5.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. This is just a catastrophe beyond belief.
I watched it come in very low.
Okay, we have additional explosions being reported in Washington D.C. And okay, I'll pass it along later.
Man, this is just and
what do we have on the plane at the Pentagon? The plane that hit the Pentagon or was near the Pentagon?
Literally, there was one report that there was a helicopter just moments before this explosion or impact, whatever it was at the Pentagon. They were sort of dickering over that on NBC, whether it was a helicopter or an actual plane. But other than that.
Well, there were a few reports of other explosions in other government buildings in D.C. and something. Now the tower that is still standing.
Look at that second tower is gone.
But the first tower, the one that's still standing, doesn't it look like there's some new activity in there, like something has just blown up in that thing. I mean, was it smoking like that?
Yeah, it was smoking like that.
The top looks a little more damaged too.
Well, but naturally because it's been burning over all this length of time.
Is that the
no
Pentagon?
Question. I think so, Drew, because that was the white smoke. That's the Pentagon. Yeah, definitely.
I cannot tell you where that happens. That's either.
What's that in the sky?
That looks like a fighter jet.
Fighter. Yeah, it's definitely.
For what's it doing?
It's
ready to shoot down anything that isn't in the air. I mean, anything that's in the air.
It's too late, but it is patrolling
airspace to shoot the son of a bitch down.
Within, I'd say, at least a half an hour or so, every plane that's authorized to fly in the United States is going to be on the ground.
Oh,
so
you better believe it.
That is in the plane is coming down.
Is coming down one way or another, isn't it? You ain't kidding.
But who would think that we'd be attacked by our own commercial
I know it.
airline?
More than that, it's either a case of someone having planted explosives in advance at the Trade Center or someone hijacking a plane with a suitcase full of explosives.
I think, Trudy, the perfection of that implosion, I can't believe that you could just plant a few bombs on a plane and have that perfect perfect an
No,
implosion
you
of a
couldn't.
World Trade
The
Center.
other thing
How do you get on board an American airline chat with a suitcase full of explosives?
'Cause
Enough
well,
to blow up the World Trade
There
Center.
wasn't.
That's why I think they're already
Because it was
planted in the
planted.
World
Right,
Trade
no, it's
Center.
absolutely
And if
true,
that's the case,
because
what's
other- you'd have to-
security at the World Trade Center? Haven't they had an increase in their security since
Well,
1993?
okay, now there's the question, isn't
Don't
it?
they have to run those Morgan Stanley, Dean Witter people through?
There's your question. That's your real question.
By the
Certainly-
way, don't try calling anyone in New York.
Don't try calling
Don't
anybody
kid
even around
yourself.
here. I tried calling Trish. Cell things are just jammed. I tried calling out of this building even. I couldn't do it. Eventually, I got
Well, a lot
out.
of the satellites are at the top of that building.
Yeah.
I guess a
Oh,
lot of the
communication center.
the cell phone
Yeah.
towers, and they're all
I couldn't-
obviously out.
I could not use my cell phone. It was a total wipeout.
Can you even call anybody in New York? I mean, on landlines? Hey, dial up. This is stupid, but why don't you dial up Dr. Sean? Oh no, that's a cell phone number, isn't it?
That's New York. It's Long Island.
What's a landline number we could call? Call Jonah Falcon. I mean, I know it's stupid. He's the guy with a 13-inch penis, but he is someone in New York. It's a 212 number.
Oh, he'll love it. But the thing of it
As long
is
as we
that
don't tell him
certainly
someone
if,
else is hung more than he is.
Yeah, I know. As long as you don't interrupt.
What
Best.
happened, Mark?
All circuits busy.
Yeah. Forget it. Forget it.
There are those who have called to take credit, and
know
then there
what?
are the denials from other groups who say, one in particular, a Palestinian group who says they don't deal in the death of innocent people,
Well,
and
you
so
know
it wasn't
what?
them.
I believe that. I believe that the people that call that say that they didn't do it, I believe them.
I think when you call to say you didn't do it, you certainly bring a little bit of suspicion on yourself. What are you calling about?
Yeah, but you know what? In a way, too, it's a way of helping everybody out by saying that, look, this is so atrocious and so catastrophic and so totally horrible that
Curious
we want you to
about-
know that don't waste your time thinking our group did it because we wouldn't do it.
Other tall buildings, maybe tall buildings here in this area, and federal buildings, of course, today, like the McNamara building. You know how they always go on higher alerts.
Would you want to be in the Rensen right now?
No,
And not to create a
no,
panic,
Drew,
but
no.
I think I'd want to go home.
No, I'd be home. As a matter of fact, I was out on the porch. I heard a couple of people talking about one girl how much she's going to go to Lansing, get her kids, and go home. A lot of people just want to go home.
Well, yeah, when you have your kids in school and there's a
Well,
panic
that's
and you don't know
right.
how they're absorbing this or what
Well,
they're being
no.
told,
Hey,
you sort of,
I would. If I had kids, I would definitely go get my kid and just go home.
Because
I
this
would.
is not just disconcerting because it's happening to people in our country, but it's happening on our shores. We're
On our
not. When's the
soil.
last
On our soil,
time
baby.
we were attacked
That's
on our
right.
soil in this fashion? Well, maybe
Never.
a couple hundred years.
Never. I mean, this is just unprecedented. This is absolutely
Not at all.
amazing.
And the people
This has
who
never happened.
the people who want to engage in all the affairs of all these other countries and mediate all these things on their shores
Yeah, right.
are, I'm afraid, going to be taking a back seat when
Right.
the emotional impact of this comes through.
Right.
And people are saying, well, why are we trying to help all these people who end up hating us? And, if some of it leads to this sort of threat,
Right.
and then the threat becomes real. People are hijacking jets and flying them into the World Trade Center,
Right.
bombings
Right.
in Washington D.C.
Yep.
It's sort of a blow for why don't we just let these people settle their home thing and just dome the U.S. and sort of
Well,
enjoy
it's
our
domed,
Yeah, I know.
it's domed now, more or less.
Domed by smoke. Well, you got a
Well,
lot
I
of
never
people
feared
too.
this. I always hated
they-
the fact that
I
we
never
when we
thought we would have
when we
this.
engage ourselves with for example Israel and Palestine or the Palestinians in Israel that we always end up being hated.
Oh, of
It's
course.
always like,
We're always in the
Israel's
middle.
our friend, but then, the Palestinians are furious with
Well,
us.
we're always in the middle,
And then you're
Rachel.
helping Iran, but then
Well,
they're your
yeah.
enemy 10 years later.
Well, that's right. And there's a lot of people, too, they say, that are calling all over the place that want to go to war and they're ready to be drafted. And it's like, let's go, let's kick some
Planes
ass.
crash into the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Planes, plural, is what they're citing now.
Hey, Jim.
Yo,
Jim's calling from Selfridge.
Hey, go ahead.
yeah, I was fishing out at South River Road, and I headed up there to Selfridge just to see what's going on.
And how many planes are in the air at Selfridge?
About 9:50, I seen
Oh.
two planes take off,
Yeah.
and they were heading southeast, like they were heading for New York.
Uh-huh.
I seen two more take off about 5 minutes after that, and I just drove
Yeah.
by the airway, and they got like four lined up ready to take
Yeah,
off.
I totally believe
Wow.
that. That's what was fascinating when I must tell you, like when I was living in Clinton Township there, whenever there was any kind of world incident, that had happened, boy, it was really fascinating to see Selfridge go into motion.
The Oklahoma City, and I'm already in my own mind thinking this
Oh,
has
Drew.
something to do with some of our international peacekeeping or some of our refereeing that we try to do, where we always end up being the bad guy. In fact, a lot of times both sides end up hating us for crying out loud.
Well, that's right, because it's just too volatile of a situation.
But, watching the end this be some McVeigh-related offspring, or, I mean, who knows? At this point, it's hard to say.
Though this looks pretty organized.
That sounds like it's pretty impossible.
This looks pretty organized and pretty involved.
I doubt it. But, remember Oklahoma City, though? After Oklahoma City, everybody was like, oh, it's got to be some, some Middle Eastern thing.
Crashing two planes into the Pentagon?
Well, there are people that hijack planes, though. They're they're obviously drafted to do it.
How did they not get shot down?
Well, they'll get shot down because nobody knows what they're going to do.
How did the planes over the Pentagon not get shot down?
Oh, those planes.
Well,
that's interesting. I thought you were talking about the planes in New York.
Before they crashed into the Pentagon.
Oh, I don't know.
As they
commercial
flew
planes, Trudy. Are they going to shoot down a commercial plane?
Don't they? Isn't there a restricted airspace in which you are warned if you're a pilot?
No,
you
absolutely.
must immediately.
That's all restricted airspace. No,
don't they then scramble the jets and chase you away? Or
yes, that's all restricted airspace. Or
do they shoot first and ask questions later?
No, they definitely they'll fly up alongside you, but it is restricted airspace over all those governmental buildings. And
I'm sorry, I was just listening to somebody. Were you saying they would shoot down any flying object in that particular airspace would be shot down automatically?
Oh, once they get everybody on the ground, Oh, no, you're talking about restricted airspace?
Yeah.
Well, what would happen is that if somebody is flying over that restricted airspace, which every pilot knows that that's restricted airspace. I mean, there's not one pilot out there that would ever be flying over the Pentagon on any day and think that that's cool. You'd have to be a complete beyond a moron. But what they would do is
we had that little plane that flew into the White House. Remember that flew into the White House? So I mean, obviously, there's breaking news, by the way. Something has exploded on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, some kind of explosion, according to CNN, on Capitol Hill. They haven't said
my
exactly
God!
Where, but near the Capitol building itself.
This is
I have to believe
really
those guys are long gone.
Oh yeah.
Or just turned around on their way in.
No, they're gone.
What do you get from Jennifer, Trudy?
There's concern about the second trade tower coming down, in addition to the blow-up in Washington. I just thought we watched that, as a matter of fact. It looked like something different had happened.
I can't even stand to imagine what it would be like to be in either one of those buildings. You have a plane. If you haven't been to the television yet, or you haven't been able to see any of this, and you will see it later today, planes have hit the Trade Center at a low enough level, maybe 60, 70 stories up, so that there are all these people on these lower floors who have no way to get out in terms of elevator. They have to either get down the stairs or just sit and wait. And they've seen the South Tower literally implode.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the panic in the North Tower?
God, Drew.
As they're waiting now? Is that new?
No,
that's earlier when
that's
the plane
earlier.
first hit.
After the first one.
But can you imagine what it's like for those people? They only have a stairway. There's thousands of people who are wanting to get out of that building, and they've seen the southern one implode, and now they're just.
I know. We
got some breaking news.
The second time.
Hitting the World Trade Centers.
I thought we had something breaking.
Yeah, we did.
It's just the same.
Oh, it's just everything is breaking. Okay. Okay.
Well, right there it says attacks against targets in New York and Washington.
Besides these explosions, the market is closed. The airports are all closed. Airspace is closed. New York City is closed. The White House is evacuated.
Definitely.
The country is under siege.
Yeah.